Okay. All right, so everybody's in. A few more coming in. We'll wait just a couple more minutes. We have a couple more people coming in. All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. We're so happy to have you joining us for Empowering Parents for Productive Parent-Teacher Conferences. I'm Rochelle Carroll, and I am the Executive Director of Curriculum Instruction, and I'm so happy to be here with two of our incredible instructional service coordinators, Cindy Estrada, our assessment coordinator, and Sunny Lopez, our math coordinator, who are going to be sharing some really important information with you that will help you with your parent conferences, hopefully this week or next, and overall help with your support of your children at home for their school readiness. So again, thank you so much for being here. We're going to record this session also for others to see. And so we'll start with Cindy.
Thank you, Rochelle. Welcome everybody to Empowering Parents for Productive Parent-Teacher Conferences. Our goal for today's session is during this workshop, we're going to dive into the CASP Student Summary Report, which will provide you with tools to help you understand your child's academic progress. We will also help you gain tips on how to identify strengths and establish goals for your child as you prepare for conferences that are upcoming. And we'll also focus on district level assessments and guide you through interpreting what those look like on the CVESD student summary, which you will receive at parent conferences. And so we are hopeful that all of these things will help prepare you for conferences this week. So we're going to start with understanding your child's state assessment results. So if you currently have a child in grades 4, 5, or 6, your child most likely took the CASP assessment last year. And so as I work through some of these slides, these are some important terms to know for Home Access Center, for CASP, our California Assessment of Student Performance in Progress. SBAC is also referred to as Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, which is sometimes also just thought of as the English Language Arts or the math portion of the CASP test. LPAC is our English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, and the SSR is the student score report that goes along with either the LPAC or any CASP assessment. And so when we look at our system of CASP, there are 3 different areas or content areas that students are assessed in. It will be science for grades 5, English Language Arts and math grades 3 through 6, and Spanish language arts for students who are grades 3 through 6 if they are in a dual immersion program. So what that looks like by grade level is language arts and math all the way through, and you'll notice 5th grade has CAST science, and then again the CSA or California Spanish assessment for dual immersion. Now your child may have taken these assessments, and of course we all anticipate seeing how well our children do on these assessments. And so you should have received notification last month on how to access your child's results. But if not, I'm going to guide you through those steps. So the first thing that you will do is go to our district website, cvesd.org, and you will click on Parents and go to the Home Access Center. This little cheat sheet is housed on that same Home Access Center tab, so it'll guide you through the process of how to find your CASP scores for your children. An important thing to note that if your child attends a charter school within our district, charter schools disseminate their CASP results separately, and so you will not see your child's CASP score in Home Access Center if you attend a charter school. Once you are logged into Home Access Center, this will give you kind of like a bit of a dashboard. There's just a few tabs up at the top: home, attendance, classes, grades, student support, and registration. And what we're going to be focusing in on is clicking on that grades tab. From there, you'll see that there's 2 options. It'll probably default to something called report card, and it's blank, so there's nothing there. What you're going to want to do is actually click on where you see the green bar right there. It says California test scores. You're going to click on that. Sometimes it takes a little bit to load, so you'll want to be patient. But once you do that, it's going to provide you with a secure way to access your child's CASP and or LPAC scores. And so once you're at this page, you're going to see you're going to have access to your child's scores, not just for last year, but if they took it previous years, the scores will be there and identified by the year. So all you'll need to do is click on View Report, and this CASP or LPAC Student Summary Report will pop up. One of the things to note at the very beginning of the report, it calls out that the statewide assessment, so CASP or LPAC, these are just one way to measure student progress. And so the skills that are called out by these standards are the ability to write clearly, think critically, solve problems. They're all essential, but this is one measure, okay? So that's at the top of your student summary or your student score report. Also within that score report, it'll help you identify what these scores mean. So for each of the proficiency levels, they correlate with a color. Level 1 is standard not met. Level 2 is nearly met. Level 3 is standard met, and level 4, or the blue, is level standard exceeded. And so these ranges are different for every grade. So the scale scores that correlate to each of those levels, 1, 2, 3, or 4, will change depending on what grade your child is in. On the right-hand side, you see this little, kind of like a little scale that breaks down the score. So when you're looking at your child's score, it'll be in the bubble. So this student scored 2,540 on this assessment. You can see that falls within this range, and it is a level 3. You can compare if your child took the assessment in the previous year to see if they increased. Sometimes students might stay within the same level, proficiency level, but their scale score may have increased. So an example of that is if the student scored a 2,540 one year and then a 2,500, let's say 63 another year, that may still fall within the same score band. So when you open your student score reports, you'll have a lot of information on the front. It'll break down where your child scored in both language arts and math on the front and overall, and then on the back it breaks it down with a little bit more detail. One thing that I would like to note is English language arts and math scores are already released. We are still waiting for the state to release California alternative assessments and the California Spanish assessment. So those results are not yet released, but they will be soon. We anticipate sometime in October. So those will be automatically loaded into Home Access Center for you to review. If you wanted to learn more about CASP and find some supporting resources, there is a website that the state has created specifically for parents. It's called Starting Smarter. It's you can access just by going to ca.startingsmarter.org, and it's an open website. It is available in English or Spanish. If you click in the upper right of this of the screen, it'll translate everything for you into Spanish. And this website allows you to check out test questions. It provides you with sample score reports for many different types of assessments for LPAC and for CASP. There is a tool here that you can use to help plan parent conferences, and this one is actually my favorite. Check out the test in action. It allows you to kind of log in and experience what the test looks like, feels like, just as your students experience it in the spring. So you can check out the questions by subject, grade, and area. You can look at those sample score reports. And again, there's many different additional free resources available. And so using that information and kind of transitioning into what's coming up in just a couple days is parent-teacher conferences. So our conferences are starting on September 14th, and this is really an opportunity where you get to have time to connect with your child's teacher. It'll give you an opportunity to discuss your child's strengths. You'll be able to sit down and establish mutual goals for your child and also review the CVESD student summary. And so we're going to take a moment and talk a little bit more about what that student summary is. Here is an example of what a student summary may look like. It has a lot of information regarding your child's assessment history. So the cool thing about this is you're going to get results on one page, regardless of the grade. It's the history of assessments for your child. And so you'll see that there's CASP information on this report. There's Achieve 3000 Lexile. For the CASP section, it will call out those proficiency levels that I mentioned, the level 1, 2, 3, or 4. It will include the scale score, and it'll give you the distance your child was from level 3, how far under or how far over. So here's an example of the student's English language arts. They had a proficiency level of 2. Their scale score was 2,452, and they were 50 points away from meeting that level 3 or the MET proficiency band. So that information is all available for you on your student summary report. Depending on what grade your child is in, if they are an upper grade student, their report will probably be a bit longer. It also includes information for LPAC, for Smarty Ants, and also iReady as well. You may also see a few things on the student's report for programs or assessments that we've used in the past, but that are no longer active. We still want to provide you with that assessment information. So an example here would be the CELT test that the student took in 2017 and 18. That assessment has been replaced by the LPAC, but we want to provide you with that info. And so moving on into establishing mutual goals, one of the things that is really unique about Fall Parent Conference is that it gives you an opportunity to sit with your teacher and establish goals and identify strengths. And so these are the forms that you will be receiving and working collaboratively with your child's teacher to complete during Fall Parent Conference time. And it really focuses on the strengths and goals for your child. And so we are going to kind of transition now looking at how that applies with the lens of English language arts through our Achieve 3000 Lexile program and also through Smarty Ants. So if you have a student who is in the primary grades, you have probably heard about Smarty Ants. And so they will be taking an assessment at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. On the student summary report, that information will be provided for you. It will include the correct percent correct on the test. It will also include the Lexile level overall. And one thing that's important to note is on the student summary report, as you're getting it at the beginning of the year, is that these proficiency expectations are based off of end of year. So these are the things by the end of the year, we are hoping that all of our students will be able to meet or exceed on those standards. So if you're at the beginning of the year and you see an approaching, that's okay. We want to make sure they get to that MET proficiency level by the end of the year. And so if you're unfamiliar with Smarty Ants is a comprehensive and engaging program that focuses on foundational literacy, and it's designed for pre-K through second grade students, which helps address gaps and build proficiency through systematic, explicit, and scaffolded instruction in phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. Students are able to build skills through games, activities. They are taught how to read approximately 2,800 words. So building and reading a variety of different texts as they progress. They practice comprehension skills throughout the program. And it also helps their comprehension skills by including the ability to recall, sequence, predict, and summarize information. So as a parent, if you wanted to check out how your child is doing, there is a way for you to have a home edition account to monitor progress on Smarty Ants. And so these are the steps that you would follow to sign up for a home edition account. You would request an account. email from your child's teacher. So that would be a great opportunity during conferences to say, hey, I'm interested in getting a parent account for Smarty Ants, and they can help provide you with that. So once you receive the email, you would click the Activate My Free Homeschool Connection link. From there, you enter your email address and agree to the terms with Smarty Ants, and then click Continue. You'll enter your first and last name to create your account and password. And then once you create the parent account and have more than one child's invite, you should be able to see the account on your parent dashboard without having to click through. Okay, and so what does that parent dashboard look like? So on the parent dashboard for Smarty Ants, you can view and monitor your child's progress, such as initial placement of the lessons, current lessons, and progress for the week and the year. So here you'll be able to see the progress in Smarty Ants, the time spent. Another feature which I love is being able to actually listen to your child's recorded reading. So in the program, they practice reading out loud and it records them, and so you get to listen in to actually hear their progress. And so transitioning more into the upper grade, second grade and beyond, we use Achieve 3000, where they take a level set to identify their Lexile level, and that is also provided on the student summary report. And so here's an example in that orange box there. And a little information about Achieve 3000 Lexile framework. So this framework is for reading, and it is a scientific approach to measure both the reading ability and the text complexity of reading materials on the same developmental scale. So students and supporting adults should look for reading material that falls within the sweet spot. So a student will take this assessment and be assigned a Lexile level. And so anything 100 points below that or 50 points above that would be okay for them to read on their own. And that range would be an ideal level of challenge while still maintaining comprehension. And so this is a little snapshot of what the student dashboard looks like. You may have seen your child working on this program. It includes a menu, the class selector, there's a search bar, there's a cool career center where they can explore. There's a 5-step literacy routine that is embedded in all of the Achieve 3000 articles. So step 1 is a before reading poll. Step 2, they're reading. Step 3, they're responding. And step 4, they reflect. And step 5, they write. And so you can see that they work through those same 5 steps of that literacy routine for each article that they work on. You can also see the Lexile tracker, so students are able to see how their Lexile level is growing over time, and they also get cute little badges to reward them for their achievements. And just like with Smarty Ants, you can also monitor and check out how your child is doing in Achieve 3000 with a home account. And so these are the steps of how you would do that. You would just need to open up your internet browser, and you're going to request your child to log into the district's online portal to launch Achieve 3000. From there, they're going to click the arrow by their name, and at the top of the screen, there will be a little option to create a parent login. So you'll be provided with the security code, and you're going to answer a few questions. Your child's teacher will provide you with that code. So that would be a great thing to ask at conference time. And then the system will display your home edition username and password. So you're going to want to record this information and keep it somewhere safe. And note that you can use the portal.achieve3000.com to access it as a parent. And from there, you get to log in and get started and kind of check on all of the cool things your child is doing. You have access to reports for your child's progress. You can see the program work that they have been engaging in. Whoops. And the date range. So if you wanted to say, oh, let's see what my child has done within the month of August, you can really just specify the dates that you want to look at. So that's all available to you. And so kind of thinking back to parent conference time and integrating that fall parent conference form of how can we integrate strengths and goals with a literacy lens. Here are some examples of strengths that you might be able to share when you meet with your teacher. They're going to ask you, what are some of the strengths that you think your child has? And so if they are really strong in reading, you might share something like, my child loves to go to the library. They read a lot of different types of books. They enjoy reading. Maybe your child likes to illustrate or write about what they read. Maybe they're really fluent with their reading, so they have good accuracy and their comprehension is great, and also maybe they have a good sense of meaning of words. So those are all examples of some strengths that you might want to share. Of course, you know your child best. Those are just some examples. You'll also be asked, do you have any goals for your child? And so here are some examples of goals with the literacy lens of reading a variety of text types. So if your child, if you see like, oh, they always go to the library and they only want to read books about dinosaurs, maybe we want to expand on that. Reading nightly to complete a book, improving comprehension skills, maybe working on that fluency rate, using strategies to figure out a word or a word's meaning when they encounter it in a text and they're not really sure what it means, what kind of clues can they use, how to take notes or summarize from a text. So those are all different examples of strengths and goals through the literacy lens. And so if we ask, oh, what are some ways that I can help my child to improve their reading and their progress? Here are some examples of questions that maybe you might want to ask your child's teacher during conference time. So an example would be, since Achieve 3000 is heavily focused on nonfiction texts, what opportunities are there to read literature-based texts for my child? Another example of a question might be, how can I support my child at home to strengthen reading skills or the love of reading? And you might want to just ask, what are the end of year proficiency levels? So remember, every grade has a different benchmark that they want to meet, and that parent conference is a great time for you to ask your child's teacher. So that way everybody knows what that end goal is. Other ways to improve reading progress: read for fun, let your child explore a wide variety of texts, even if they're not at their independent reading level. Being able to explore books is always a great idea. Reading nightly: the more words that your child reads, the larger their vocabulary bank and their literacy knowledge becomes. Have your child read out loud with you. Just like you can listen on Smarty Ants to them reading out loud, just having them sit down and read to you is also a great idea that helps with their fluency. Encouraging your child to talk about what they are reading, and most importantly, I think, is celebrate all the successes. Even if it's something small, maybe you know, I know for myself as a young child, I didn't finish books all the time. I would pick them up and I would start them, but I wouldn't always finish it. And so being able to just celebrate, hey, you got that book and you stuck with it and you read it all the way through, that would be an example of celebrating a small success in literacy. And so with that, I am going to shift it back over to Rochelle as we kind of switch gears here.
All right, thank you so much, Cindy. And we just wanted to remind all of you, if you joined in at the beginning or midway through, that we are recording this, and there is a Q&A section. So if you click on your screen, you should be able to ask any questions that you'd like. You can just type them into the question and answer portion, and we'll be happy at the end to answer any questions that we have. So be thinking about some things that you might want to ask specifically that would help you with your child's parent-teacher conference, or in looking for your assessment data from the Home Access Center, any of those pieces. We're happy to answer those questions for you. And now we're going to move on into mathematics, and our math coordinator, Sunny Lopez, is going to talk to you a little bit about iReady Mathematics and how to help support your children with math at home. Thanks, Sunny.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rochelle. Hi, everyone, and good evening. As Rochelle said, my name is Sunny Lopez, the math coordinator for the district. At this time, I will go ahead and talk to you about some of the math scores you might be seeing in the student summary and maybe give you some tips on how to have conversations with your teachers during the parent conferences. So at this time, one second. We are going to go through the iReady section in your student summary reports. So as you can see in this section, we are taking the iReady diagnostic 3 times a year, beginning of the year, the mid-year, and the end of year. As you're looking at the scores, you will notice that there is a score at the very beginning, and that is your child's score. And then following it is the proficiency based on end of year grade level expectations. As Cindy did note, I want to just remind everyone they have the entire year to meet the end of year expectations. So if you are seeing the word approaching at the beginning of the year, that's okay. They have the rest of the year to get to that met or exceeded proficiency level. With that, I do want to also let you know that each grade level has their own scale bands, and you can see here kinder band to be proficient or met or exceeded the grade level expectations at the end of the year. That number is 373. For first grade, it is going to be 413. Second grade, you will see it is 441. Third grade, 464. Fourth grade, 482. And fifth grade, 498. Oh, and then finally, sixth grade, 514. Throughout the year, the proficiency is based on end of year grade level expectations. Just want to remind you. But throughout the year, we are able to focus on these 4 domains. iReady diagnostic scores are comprised of the domains of number and operations, algebra and algebraic thinking, measurement and data, and also geometry. Your child may be receiving iReady instruction in the classroom or even have access to it at home. With the iReady, students have their own accounts and have access to personalized instruction based on their diagnostic scores. If you have seen this, you will notice that the student dashboard has different menu icons at the very bottom. The first one you can see is the to-do icon, which is where they have their menu of activities that they can complete. They could either be MyPath activities, which are individualized per student needs based on the diagnostic reports, or they can have teacher assigned lessons or comprehension checks. The next icon that you can see is going to be My Progress. This is where your child can check their progress for the week. On the left, it'll show you how many minutes they have spent on iReady. And in the middle, you will see the lessons passed for the school year. And then on the very right, it'll give a math lesson streak on how many lessons passed in a row. Also, something pretty nifty is at the very bottom, you will see completed work. With that completed work tab, you will get a list of activities that your child has completed and the scores. They will be ranked from the most recently completed activities to the last, really far back activities that they completed. And the next icon is My Stuff. This just shows you the coins that your child has earned throughout the time they have been spending on iReady. These coins allow them to buy extra games that they can use just for fun brain breaks, and these learning games still focus on fluency and content, but also fluency and content, but also do grade level activities as well. And the next icon will be the bookshelf. The bookshelf is a very cool resource that the student can access on their dashboard. It gives full access to the student workbooks that iReady has. And also at the very top, you will see in the corner Family Resources. If you click on the Family Resources, it opens up a link where you can watch videos. And these videos are able to provide the unit flow and progression of the unit that families can watch. And the cool thing, you can also look at the closed caption and adjust it from English to Spanish based on whatever language you prefer. The next icon that we have is going to be the tools. And with this menu, your child could click on any of those tools that you see on the screen, and they can get a tutorial on how they work and how to use them with the program. Additionally, we'll also give them a chance to practice using these tools online and to navigate through these tools throughout the year, helpful for when they do the diagnostic tests. And then you will also see the learning games. The learning games, thank you. The learning games icon gives them those brain breaks that are also fun. Those brain breaks provide them fluency practice and also content practice. And then finally, the fluency flights, which is offered for grades 2 to 5. These fluency practices have a cap of 8 minutes per day, but the cool thing about the fluency flights is that it starts at grade level, and then based on the way your child answers the questions, it will adjust to support the child and their needs. So what does this look like for your conferences? I have given you some math strengths and goals, just examples with a math lens on how to turn some of your child's strengths into math goals for the year. So for example, if you can say that your child loves to count and sort objects, a great math goal would be to categorize and make data charts. If your child loves solving problems, a great goal would be to follow multi-step directions, or maybe help you solve some puzzles. If your child loves to cook, bake, or be in the kitchen, maybe we can create a goal that has them work with fractions or measuring or creating recipes that are smaller or larger than a regular batch. If your child loves to share and has a big heart, another goal would be to have them create equal groups to create a larger number, or create equal groups from breaking down a larger number. And then finally, if your child loves to draw, why not have a goal of showing your math thinking through some sketches? So how can we improve my child's math progress? Where does my child, some questions that you can ask, sorry about that, I keep skipping around. Some of the questions that you can ask at your conference: where does my child's diagnostic score fall compared to the end of year expectations? Maybe what is my child's score for each domain? That'll help you support them with that specific domain. What lessons can my child do to meet end of the year expectations? And how can I support math learning at home? And of course, other ways that we can use math as progress. We can celebrate all progress and growth. That'll be fantastic to have the child know that any growth is progress. Learn math together. It's always fun. I know that some parents really love to teach and learn math with their child, so go ahead and celebrate that. Show children how math lives in everyday life. How can we use time in math? How do we use speed, fractions, data, measurement, comparisons, anything that you can see that life mimics math and math mimics life. And then finally, thinking beyond the content areas. In one of the sections of the student summary, you are going to discuss work habits and strengths and goals. So because you know your child best, we are just giving you some suggestions, but again, use what applies to your child specifically. Some examples of strength could be that your child has great organizational skills, or your child works really well with others. What if your child loves to draw and paint? How about my child enjoys doing science experiments? My child is curious and seeks out information, and my child is kind and helpful. We can use those strengths and also establish some really helpful goals. Some goals could be something similar to improve organizational skills, increase participation in discussions or collaborative activities, ask clarifying questions, improve focus or on task behavior, independently use calming strategies when upset, have a growth mindset when trying new activities, and use classroom resources for support. At this time, we are going to go ahead and wrap up the wonderful presentation we have prepared for you. Rochelle, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you very much, Sunny. So we've had a chance tonight to talk a little bit about the Home Access Center, and if you haven't had a chance, if you have a student who took the CASP assessment in the spring, and you haven't had a chance to see their scores, Cindy was able to show you a little bit more about how to get in and access that information. We talked about how to get ready for fall conferences. We hope that you are going to be able to meet with your child's teacher sometime between this Thursday and the end of next week before fall break. We talked about the student summary that you should be receiving from your child's teacher that shows some of the testing history that your student may have from our diagnostic tests, like the Achieve 3000 level set, the SmartAnswers assessment, and the iReady math diagnostic. We talked about some ways for you to think about goal setting and what are some of those things that you would really like for your child to work toward this year, whether that's centered around reading and writing or math or even personal goals, work habits, study habits, things like that. So when you're in meeting with your child's teacher, you can talk a little bit about some of the things that you hope that they will be able to accomplish this year. You'll be able to maybe ask some questions of your child's teacher that'll help you know a little bit better about where they are as a student in school and where the teacher also wants to see your child move toward. And we want you to know that we're going to continue to provide support to families every chance we can. And some of them will be in person live at our central office at 84 East J Street. And sometimes we may have them at school sites, sometimes online, because we know that's sometimes easier for people to make it, especially around dinner time or after work or in the evenings. So we want to provide choices for you and provide support in every way we can. So please know that we are here. We're excited to help you. We're very eager for you to have a chance to learn more about your children. And we thank you for taking the time to come and join us this evening and learn how you can be empowered to have more productive parent-teacher conferences. Thank you again, and then thanks to Cindy Estrada, our assessment coordinator, and Sunny Lopez, our math coordinator, and to our translation team and our IT team, all of those who make these kinds of events possible. Thank you all. Have a great night, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you. Okay, are we off?